Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of your favorite travel podcast, Travel, Explore, Celebrate Life. With more than 15 episodes done now, we decided to change things up a bit. We have also made sure that we are going to do a video recording of this podcast. So, in addition to everywhere that this podcast is available, that is on Spotify, Google Podcasts, the Veena World website, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. This podcast is now going to be available on YouTube too, so you can watch a video version of it, and you can see Sunila and me with our faces, with our mics right here, working from home. So we really hope that all of you are doing well and safe and hearty all across India and all across the world. And thank you so much for tuning in. Today, we are going to discuss something super interesting. And I think my last trip, Sunila, to this place that is known as God's own country was about a year ago. When was your last trip? And tell us what we are talking about today.
Hi everyone. It's so good to be here and to be actually, I'm sure all of you are seeing us, so it's really nice to be here. We are talking about nothing other than our own green paradise, Kerala, God's own country, as we know it, and as the whole world knows it, in fact, and it really is God's own country. Neil, it's been a very long time since I've been to Kerala, so I'm missing it so much. But one of the most interesting things is that I actually went there for a wedding, a very close friend's wedding, and it was so much fun it's like experiencing everything that you know about Kerala all in one go in that one wedding. So from the Kasavu saris to the Sadhya food to everything about Kerala, I got to do in that one wedding. So I'm so happy, but I'm really looking forward to go back and discovering everything that this beautiful, wonderful place has to offer to all of us.
That's awesome. And I think a good point to bring in Kerala, God's own country, known as one of the most literate states in India, would be to discuss the actual reasons why one should visit Kerala. And often there are people who will come to us and ask us that, okay, what are the top reasons that one should visit Kerala and why should it be on the top of my bucket list? So without further ado, let's just get into it, Sunila, and let's start with one of the main reasons. I think everyone knows about it, and everyone often talks about the backwaters of Kerala. So, what would you have to say about the backwaters of Kerala?
I think, Neil, it's a perfect start because, what is unique to the state of Kerala? The backwaters. They are completely unique to this beautiful land in our country. And the backwaters are like where the ocean meets the river, is what I can say. And you have water, water, and water everywhere that you look, everywhere that you go. So there are lagoons, there are lakes, there are five big lakes in this whole region, and it's all parallel to the Arabian Sea. So as you travel Kerala, you will see the backwaters here, and it's so peaceful and mild because you don't have like the ferocity of the ocean here, but it's the ocean water that has come in and is now mild. It's calm and it forms these peaceful lagoons where you can meander, you can walk around, you can take a boat ride and go around, and it just, I think it's built the whole tourism of Kerala so well that it's the perfect place to start your Kerala journey as well, and to identify Kerala with, I think. Don't you think so, Neil?
Yeah, I quite agree because when we were in Kerala and we were staying at the Kumarkum Lake Resort, which we had spoken about a few episodes ago, I think one of the advantages of the backwaters, like you rightly said, was that there are no waves, right? So you can have a really nice sunset cruise on the backwaters, and I think that one of the top draws is that, right, Sarila, that uh, the sunset cruises at most of these resorts in Kerala are something that people really go for.
Yes, Neil. That's the least you can do on the backwaters. So definitely go in and do a sunset cruise. In fact, a lot of people are now doing even a whole day trip on the backwaters. So, you can see the wooden boats, the ketuvellums, as they are called, the houseboats, the traditional wooden boats of Kerala, which are made with bamboo and all natural fibers. So it's all ecologically friendly. And these boats are now, a lot of them, in Kerala, they've turned them into places of accommodation. So you don't have to just go in to watch a sunset or just be there for the day. you can actually go and stay in them overnight, live in them, and really enjoy the backwaters for a longer time. In fact, I know that most of us would do it for a day or 2 days or so, but I have friends from abroad who've come in and, toured the backwaters for a week just on the houseboat because they just love it so much. I mean, here you can see the trees and, the narrower ducts, but as you go into the backwaters, you have this wide expanse of water. You wake up in the morning and you can see greenery and water everywhere and all through the day. So it's really amazing. Have you been on one, Neil?
I have been on many, I would say, but then I think I'd like to add that there are just so many backwaters in Kerala that it's hard to find, uh, like hard to zero down on something that is really something that you should do. But then as part of these things, and as I was coming up with the show notes, there are three places that are really recommended, and we discussed this before too, right? I think one of them, and I think it's the most beautiful and accessible part, is Ashtamudi Lake, and that is the second biggest lake in Kerala, and it is located in the district of Kollam. So one of the things about these backwaters, and we are going to come to this later in the episode, which is going to be more so how you can make sure that you don't just spend the day on these backwaters, but also can spend the night. But one of the things about these backwaters is that these backwaters are really calm and beautiful. So Ashtamudi Lake is one of the areas that people really look at. Do you know the other two, Sarila?
Yes, of course. My favorite is Alipi, so Alappuzha, or and the whole Kottayam area, Ernakulam, Kumarakam. So the Vembanad Lake. In fact, I remember I was at the Zuri Hotel on Vembanad Lake, and it just struck me because the pool is right by the lake, and you have this infinity pool, and you're looking out from the pool into the lake, and it was just so mesmerizing to be in water, to be looking at water, and it was my favorite part. In fact, even the Taj Kumarakam there is quite pretty, very beautiful. So I really like that area, the whole Alapi Kumarakam area. And then, of course, the wedding I mentioned that was held in Kannur. So near Kannur is the third famous backwater area, Kasaragod and Kannur, and you can be there as well. But I didn't have time to go into the backwaters at Kannur. But yes, Ashtamudi and Kumarakam Alapi are definitely something that you should be visiting, if not all three.
Awesome. I think we could talk about the backwaters all through, but let's move on to the second reason why one should visit Kerala.
Before
And
that, Neil, I
oh
just want
wow,
to add just one last small thing because it's too tempting. But the houseboats, the ketuvalams, as we call them, if you are a non-veg lover, you have to go on them because these boats are parked in the night. They don't, they're not because of the tides and everything. They are parked in the night, so they don't move. But the best part is the food on board because you can actually catch local fresh fish and have as much seafood as you want, and it's all fresh. And in fact, some of these smaller boats come across and sell you fresh vegetables as well. So if you go in with the right people, you can have a fabulous meal on these houseboats, and it is all fresh. So that's one more reason to get back onto the backwaters and stay on a houseboat. And
now
now we
you
can
now
move to
now
wildlife.
now now you've got me interested because it reminded me of this one time when I was in Kerala and we were actually setting up the destination for all the Vina World tours that are going to come in.
Mhm.
And I was with many of these tour managers. And with tour managers, like Vina World tour managers all across India, and the number of years that they've spent touring these states, they often have friends in each of these parts. And
Of course.
they've made great friends in the backwaters too. And this one evening, they organized this amazing dinner for us on the backwaters in one of
Wow.
the houseboats. And I think that is something that I still remember and cherish. But without drooling over food right now, let's move on to the second reason. And
Mhm.
with the backwaters comes the lush green, and with the lush green come dense forests that Kerala is home to, given its tropical climate. There are so many national parks, there are so many sanctuaries, and yes, the second reason I think that one should really visit Kerala is for the wildlife. Where do we start when it comes to the wildlife?
I think let's start with the most famous, wildlife sanctuary that I think everybody in India knows, and that is the Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary or the Tiger Reserve or the Thekadi Wildlife Sanctuary as it is known. and it is one of the biggest in Kerala. I mean, more than 700 square kilometers. So it definitely is one of the biggest. Amazing elephants. If you're lucky, then tiger, because it is one of the tiger reserves of India. And this is formed, Neil, by this big watershed. So the most important river, Periyar River and Pamba, the two rivers meet, and their watershed is where the Periyar Wildlife Sanctuary is held. So I think it's a great place. And if you book early, you're lucky, you can actually stay inside the sanctuary as well. There are some, a lot of places run by KTDC. So there are dormitories, there are hotels, there are watchtowers. You can definitely stay there. So from waking up on the backwaters to waking up in a wildlife sanctuary, every morning in Kerala promises something else, I think.
So, I often, whenever I'm researching, use these websites. And one of the questions that I came across a lot was that can you spot the tiger in any of these national parks or sanctuaries in Kerala? And well, the simple answer to it is yes, right? Sunita, you can spot the Indian Bengal
Of
tiger
course. Mhm.
in these sanctuaries. But in addition to that, there's also the Asian elephant and the leopard that you can spot. And the number of sanctuaries in Kerala, the number of like national parks are just so many. You mentioned Periyar, there is Neyar Wildlife Sanctuary, there is Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. Speaking of Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary, I was there, like I said, my last trip was last year,
Mhm.
and I was there in Wayanad where, you know, we were at this forest lodge and it was a eco forest lodge. So every morning and every evening and every night, there is a nature walk that you do and you could spot anything. Like the person who was leading that walk, he was quite petrified at the start, and I was like, why are you so petrified? And he's like, last night there was an Asian elephant that was spotted over here, and Asian elephants can be quite dangerous. So you can spot that, and you could also spot the king cobra over there. So there is just so much to do when it comes to the wildlife, and if you are a wildlife lover, and since lockdown, everyone has been going on these wildlife safaris across India. So Kerala should
Mm.
also be on your list. Before I move on to the next one, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, Neil, I think there was reason enough to be petrified. If the king cobra is in the way, you don't want to be there. I just want to add that Kerala, along with the tiger and of course the elephants, it's also really famous for birds. So there are quite a lot of sanctuaries in Kerala, and two of the most famous are the Dr. Salim Ali Bird Sanctuary, and the other one is at Vembanad itself, or also known as the Kumarakam Bird Sanctuary. And I mean, it's perfect for the migratory birds. So if you're going in winter, it would be an amazing treat to come here and watch that. But there is one thing I want to share, and that is something called the Silent Valley National Park. Now, not many of us really visit this because it's high up in the Nilgiri Hills, but if given a chance, definitely visit because there is a little secret out here. There is, a link to mythology, and they say that it goes back to the Mahabharata because apparently the Pandavas, they were the ones who visited here, and the other name for the Silent Valley National Park is nothing else but Sairandri Viram, which means Draupadi. So they say that this is where Draupadi was disguised and was hiding, and she was here. I don't know about that, but the name itself sounds so good, right? Because apparently there are no cicadas in this forest, the crickets, and they make no sound, and that is why the valley is silent, and that's how the British actually named it Silent Valley. But just imagine being a part of our mythology. It would be amazing. So that's
Of
also another national park to go to.
this is quite a trend because we've been talking about mythology in multiple episodes now.
Yes.
We did the first episode on Pride of India and we spoke about Jatayu Earth Center, which
Yes.
also happens to be in
In
Kerala.
Kerala.
So we'll come to that a little later because that's more about history.
Mm.
But so that is wildlife. You can spot a load of like a lot of animals, a lot of birds, and if you are a wildlife enthusiast, Kerala is one of the states that you should definitely visit. Now, the next one is something that is super close to my heart. I think I travel only because of that. And yes, one should really visit Kerala for its food because, at most of these authentic uh, Kerala restaurants, you get food served on a banana leaf. And I think that is how tradition is. You get veg dishes, you get non-vegetarian dishes, and being Kerala, there's a lot of rice that is served to you. There's the the famous papad, and well, haven't been to Kerala in a few months now, but the other day I was really missing Kerala food, and I decided to order food from this place called Hotel Sunny in Chembur in Mumbai. And I think for all food lovers there, if you really are missing Kerala food, of course there is the taste of Kerala in South Bombay, but there is also Hotel Sunny, which delivers all across Mumbai, and I would definitely recommend that. But let's come to Kerala, and I think a majority of the food is dominated or like catering to non-vegetarians. Isn't that right?
That's absolutely right. You name anything that is non-vegetarian and you can get it in Kerala and get it really well. It's so delicious that, I think like you said, Neil, I'm going to make an itinerary that is just based on food, because there is so much to try that you can't just do it. You can't do justice to it in 1 or 2 days. So you need to try a new dish every day. And like I always like to say, the way I would love to start my day in Kerala, of course, is with a filter coffee. Have idiyappam for breakfast, and the curry that goes with it, which is a black chana curry. So idiyappam is nothing but like sevaya, like strings of rice. Follow that up with a sumptuous meal served on a banana leaf. And if there is a festival, then 100% it has to be the sadhya meal, in which they serve varieties and varieties. So this is a little bit like your North Indian thali, with lots of different items in it, and then follow it up tea time with some banana fritters, or the payasam, the sweet dish here, and you can be busy all day just eating different food. So I think for me the food here is amazing. Even the vegetarian, the non-vegetarian, of course, from chicken to beef to mutton to mussels, duck, name it, and of course the fish. We can't forget the fish and the prawns. So,
So
which is your favorite dish, Neil?
no, so let's break it down. You mentioned
Mhm,
idiyappam, right?
mhm.
So idiyappam are like can we call them really thin noodles?
Something
Uh,
like that. They are thin noodles, but they are entangled, so they are served in like little balls, or something like that. But they're very soft. So they're very soft, thin vermicelli in a way, you can say. It's all made of rice, but rice that is made and then strained through these, just to make them like thin noodles, which are served, and they are so delicious.
okay, so that's one aspect of a carb heavy meal in Kerala.
Mhm.
The other one, and I have like multiple uh, like parathas every time. Other is the layered paratha, right? So Neela is very
Yeah,
different to the
so
paratha that you
that
get in
is
the
the
north.
Malabar paratha, as they call it. So you have in Kerala, Neil, the cuisine is influenced a lot by the French and the Arab influences, also the Portuguese that came in, along with their own traditional influences. So along the Malabar coast is what you have the Malabari cuisine, and a lot of coconut. I mean, coconut water in Kerala is just amazing. So they make sure they use everything about the coconut, and all these beautiful curries and moilies and different things are with rich thick coconut curry. And of course, with a lot of the other dishes, they mix it with rice. Another one of my favorites is the appam, which is like a little bowl, like a pancake, a soft pancake. And then you have the paratha, which comes in, of course, with the Arabian influences, but it is layered so fine and it is so tasty. In fact, Neil, the Malabar paratha is one of the best street foods to have in Kerala as well.
And then it also comes with the papad and the chutney
That's
which is
right.
amazing, right? And we'll
Yes.
find that at all Kerala restaurants that are there in India, sorry, in the city of Mumbai or other cities outside of Kerala too. And like you mentioned, being a coastal place, there are many coconut trees there, and the coconut water is incredible. One more thing, Sunila, we often have polished rice over here, but one of
Mhm.
the main draws of Kerala is also the unpolished rice, right? Which is slightly reddish in color, and I think that's much healthier than the rice that we have.
Much, much, much healthier than what you would have. And in fact, I think that is the secret to the best dosas and idlis that you get, because once you take the outer covering of the rice off, you're losing not just nutrition but taste as well. So, if I could, I'd probably bring back rice from Kerala also on the next trip, I think.
That's awesome. So we've spoken a lot about food, but I still I want to circle back because we end every meal
Mhm.
with a sweet thing. So what was the sweet thing you mentioned?
So the payasam is something that I really, really love. They call it the palada payasam. So again, made out of rice. This is one of the best things to try here. But along with that, there are also some banana fritters, which are basically banana, which itself to start off with is sweet, but it's batter fried and it's just so tasty. So that is amazing as well. And then you have different cakes, sweet cakes like crepe pancakes, something
Mhm.
similar to that. And it's that is also amazing. So everything is amazing, but my favorite forever stays the payasam.
Okay, perfect. Uh, spoke like food is done. That's another reason why one should visit Kerala. Now let's move on to the next one. After you've had a sumptuous meal, after you've done like a wildlife safari, you need a place that is away from the hustle and bustle of the city. And something that Kerala is really known for uh, is like the number of hill stations that are there in Kerala. Now, things that come to my mind, Sunila, are three. And I think we could club hill stations as one of the reasons with something else, which are the tea plantations, right? Because hill
Absolutely.
stations have these tea plantations all across. And if you watched the movie Chennai Express, although it's based in another state of South India, it it there is one song in it which takes you through many tea plantations, and I think that is what you see all across Kerala also. But major hill stations, Sunila, which ones can you think of?
Neil, the most famous one, of course, Munnar. And it's not just famous because of a hill station, but it is where you find majority of the tea plantations as well. And along with the tea plantations, for me, the most amazing thing is the flowers here. I think you know them. Neela Kurinji is a blue-colored flower which basically transforms the whole valley into a beautiful purple blue color. And you know what, they flower only, they're really precious because they flower only once in every 12 years. So mark your calendars for 2030, because that's when next we will get to see this flower in the hill stations of Munnar. And in Munnar there are also a lot of homestays and tea plantation stays that you could do. So I think it's just one of the best hill stations out there. And then of course there are more. So there is Wayanad, Thekkady and all of that. You can definitely come in and stay at the other hill stations as hill stations too.
I think
Um,
I think you missed out one, which was the Athirapalli hill
that's right.
station. And I think one of the top draws about this are the Athirapalli waterfalls that are there, which are 80 feet high or 80 feet tall. And there are many hotels that are on the other side of the waterfalls, which give you a great view of the falls all through the day and night. And just the sound of the water gushing through the waterfalls is something incredible. So that is something that you should really think of. And
And
with
with
hill
the
station, okay, I'll let you.
no, I was just going to say that with the monsoon coming in, it's probably where you want to be right now, right? Like just wait for the rains to come in a little bit, and once the rains have done their magic, it's the best place. That is exactly where I would like to be in Athirapalli.
I think okay, you brought up an interesting point. So what is the best time to visit Kerala?
So, Neil, of course, if you want to miss the heat and you want to have the best weather and you want to also see a lot of festivals that are there, then anywhere from say September, October to March, weather-wise would be, that's kind of true for all of India, isn't it? That's the most pleasant time, and mostly for our guests and our friends from foreign lands and who are visiting India, they prefer to come into the winters. But I think for us as Indians here, and given the circumstances right now, any time would be the right time. I could, pack my bags and leave tomorrow. But there is something different to expect throughout the year. So it's nice because even when in the summer heat, if like we just spoke about the hill stations, if you can go to Wayanad, Munnar, Atirupalli, Thekkady, you're going to be up in the hills and enjoy some beautiful weather out there. So definitely in summer, go out to the hill stations. Again, in the monsoons, all of Kerala is pretty green. I was in the monsoons. I was at Trivandrum and Kochi, and of course there were a few flight delays here and there, but it was a very pleasant experience. And it was really beautiful because this green paradise was even more green during that time. And winters are, of course, perfect. Just after monsoons, I think would be the best time because you can see the waterfalls in all their glory and you have the best weather as well. So it really depends on what you want to do, but throughout the year, let's all go to Kerala throughout the year.
Awesome. I quite agree with that. One more thing I'd like to add, we spoke about hill stations and we spoke about tea plantations, and we can see tea plantations all across Kerala. There are many adventure activities that have been clubbed with these tea plantations. So when I was there last year, I actually managed to do some zip lining activities while there are like over these tea plantations. And there are zip lines all across the world, but doing it over a tea plantation is an experience in itself. And I would definitely recommend doing that. And there are many other adventure activities that you can do. Now, something that we have often seen growing up, and that can be another reason why one should visit Kerala and during a particular time of the year, are the festivals that we see in Kerala. And I
That's
think one
right.
of the most famous festivals that relates more so and is really a symbol of the culture that Kerala has to offer, like, is the Snake Boat Race Festival. Now,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit. What is the Snake Boat Race Festival?
Neil, so the snake boat is really the name given to the boat races that are held here. It's called as Valam Kalli, which basically means boat race, and this is held, by these small villages along the backwaters. And usually, everybody along the backwaters is really peaceful, friendly, calm. But you will see fierce competition when it is time for the snake boat races, and you have more than 110 people in every boat. The boats are really long, like these wooden boats. They are something like 140 feet long. And, they say that if this was part of Olympics, then it would be the biggest team sport because where else do you have 110 people in one boat, all rowing the boat together and vying for the cup? So it's an amazing, amazing place. And there are more than some 20 teams that take place at one time. So, 2,200 players, and everyone's trying to get a nice glimpse of them, and it's really a lot of fun even to watch it. It's really a lot of fun. And Neil, the last time I was there for one of the workshops, I think it was a Tourism Australia workshop, and what they did was gave us a taste of the snake boat racing, which was so much fun. So I think it's a great thing, like when corporate travel will start and you want to include some team building, then you can, not on the wooden snake boats that they have, but they have similar long boats, and you can actually race each other, different people from your own office or friends, your team, and it was just so much fun. So I think definitely the snake boat festival is something you should not miss, and during the Nehru Cup as well, it would be a spectacle for sure.
I didn't know that you could actually take
Yeah.
part in something like that. I thought it was only the locals who do it.
Well, in the traditional boats, it's always the locals, but they have adapted, the boats to suit you. And it was really fun. It was not 110 people as well. It was smaller boats, but just to get the feel of what really they must be feeling. And it's amazing. I mean, they have so much strength. You feel like you are nothing when you really see them rowing the boats. It's
That's
amazing.
that's something on the bucket list. So make sure you visit it for one of these festivals. Also, any idea, Sunila, when this festival takes place?
I'm not really sure, but I think it's probably in August or during that time. I don't know.
Okay,
Do
that's
you
no.
do?
I what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find out and I'm gonna add it to the show notes that you
Sure.
can find on vinaworld.com. So
Mm,
and there's actually a Vina World tour that takes place during this festival.
that's
So
right.
that's
In
also
fact, I
something.
think
Yeah.
post-pandemic, we'll really have to see when it will be held and what are the actual times. So things may change a little bit. And once they announce that, then we can see it. I think it is usually related to Onam, if I'm not wrong. So it will be when Onam happens,
Okay,
probably.
that's good.
Yeah.
So with these festivals comes another form that Kerala is really famous for, and it is also close to you because you also used to participate in certain dance forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about dance. Let's talk about the art side of Kerala, and that's also one of the reasons that I recommend visiting Kerala. So, what is the famous art form or the dance form that we see everywhere whenever a Kerala uh, advertisement comes up, whenever we see a photo representing Kerala? So, what is that form where they have like this massive? headgear, faces painted. They've worn this costume. Take us through
Hmm. Neil, you mentioned dance, and I think dance is basically a form of storytelling. Wherever you go and you see dance, you're really trying to convey the a story, some kind of a story. And the dance form that you're talking about, it's a 17th century classical dance form of India, of Kerala, called Kathakali. I'm sure you're referring to that. And Kathakali is again nothing but telling different stories. So it is a part of the Hindu culture, and it is telling stories from mythology, from, there are different characters, and and each story is being said. So you have someone who is giving the vocals, because of course the person who's playing the character is not speaking or not singing, but you have someone else who is giving, saying the dialogue, saying the story, and the language, and everything is conveyed with sign language. And being expressive really is important in dance. The best part of Kathakali, Neil, is that the colors have a meaning. So you see the painted faces, and makeup in Kathakali is so important. So it takes more than 3 hours for a person to be, for the makeup just to happen. So the person is supposed to lie down flat on his back, and that's when someone who's really an expert at it will apply these different colors. And, do you have any idea? Can you guess what a green color would be?
that. I don't know. Would it be related to something that the state offers?
Now, it's so green. So because it is mythology, and because you're talking of art, it's all to do with spirituality and gods and all of that. So green always denotes godliness. White is for spirituality. Red means turmoil. Black always shows evil. So if you see a mustache turned up in black, it means the person is portraying an evil character. And yellow is a combination of godliness and turmoil. So these are the colors, and then they have different characters, and then they enact that. So it's a lot of fun to really, once you get the gist behind it, it's amazing to see them perform. And most dances in fact started with the temples, because everything was about telling the stories. So I think before I get carried away into Kathakali and the dance forms, let's come back to the other dance forms. But Kathakali is something really interesting. And when you go to Kerala, most of the hotels will have a Kathakali performance, or you could go to, some one of the art centers and watch this as well.
So
uh,
did you? Let me stop you there. Did you?
yeah.
Did you also practice Kathakali when you
No,
were
Neil,
young?
you cannot. It's mostly done by men. There are, of course, certain female characters that take place. What I learned, or what I have practiced, is very close to the other dance form of Kerala, which is Mohiniyattam. But I practice Bharatnatyam, which is more from Tamil Nadu. And Mohiniyattam is kind of the Kerala equivalent of Bharatnatyam, because they all come from the same dance form called Natya Shastra, which was, from by Lord Shiva. So everything comes from our gods, even the dances come from our gods. So Mohiniyattam is the more graceful dance form, I can say. And it's all about, again, telling different stories, but extremely delicate moments, and very feminine, very graceful. So it's a delight to watch Mohiniyattam performance, and nobody should miss it if they get a chance to do that. The other dance forms, Niels, you have Theyyam also, which is more spiritual and to do with spirits and gods. And that is, they believe that if you do Theyyam as a dance form, again, they wear like headgear and all that. When they do that, then they feel that you're going back to God, when you're, that is the route to go attain godliness and to reach closer to God. And that is why you have Theyyam also as a dance form. So these are all the various dance form. I think, like they say, all roads lead to Rome. It's about going close to God, telling stories, and really enjoying the journey, because once you start dancing, you forget everything else. And that's what you'll see even with a Kathakali dancer, a Mohiniyattam dancer, or a person doing Theyyam as well.
Awesome. I think we often get carried away when we are discussing all of this, right? And
True.
before going into too much detail, we'll leave that for another episode where we could just discuss
Sure.
dance forms in India. Let's come to the next one. And I think we have discussed this in the past, but one of the reasons why you should visit Kerala is for its history. And I think Jatayu Earth Center, with its proximity to the tales of the was it's the Ramayana, right, Sarita? Uh,
Yes, that's
yeah,
right.
with its proximity to the tales of the Ramayana, I think that also displays like how rich the history of this particular state is actually. And I think when it comes to history, like we discussed earlier in the episode, also there is so much that you can think about when it is there. There are these dance forms, there are these festivals that have like been going on for centuries. There, the food also like has an integral part of the history. So if you are a history buff, Kerala is also one of the places that you should visit. And one of the places that you fly into is Kochi. And Fort Kochi is where the history also like begins for the state. So it's something that you could really think of doing. Now we've spoken, Sunila, about so many things, but I think one of the things that Kerala really has is the coastline, which means a lot of beaches. What do you think? Like, what do you have to say about the beaches of
I think no trip to Kerala is ever complete, before till you visit at least one beach. And just, kind of going back to history, Neil, Kerala, we mentioned the Ramayana, we mentioned the Mahabharata. So starting from even before that, you also have history with Emperor Ashoka, who was probably the first one to talk about Kerala, about a land that was Kerala. Then you have the Romans and the Greeks who came for the spices. We all know that Kerala spices are really popular. So you have cloves and cardamoms and all of these wonderful spices that come from Kerala. Then you have the Cholas, Jews, Dutch, Arabs, and Portuguese. And one of the beaches that is really famous, in fact, is where they say that the Portuguese, like Vasco da Gama, landed there, and that is Kapad Beach, as they call it. And of course, after that, history changed for us with him coming in here and all of that, but it still is one of the most beautiful beaches to visit. Maybe not the most popular, but definitely one of the beaches that you should visit. In fact, there are many different beaches, and even Kannur, where I mentioned I went for a wedding, has a really beautiful beach. And Kannur is also the place for culture, so you can kind of combine a beach holiday in Kerala with something nearby. So with Kannur, you can go and see a lot of the Theyyam performances, which we just spoke about. With Kapad Beach, you have Vasco da Gama and the history, and then of course you have Kovalam. Kovalam, I think you
One
would
of the most
agree
popular
that
ones, right?
definitely, isn't it? I mean, everybody has to have gone to Kovalam. You were at the Kovalam, right? In fact, you stayed there.
Yeah, I stayed at, well, it was then called the
Yeah,
Leela Kovalam, which is one of the best cliff top hotels in
it's the
India.
Ravis now.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the Ravis now. And one of the things that they often do at the Leela Kovalam is that they have their own private beach. Like Kovalam Beach is a massive
Mhm.
beach. In that, there is a small section that the hotel has as its own private beach, and they have a really nice Thai restaurant on the beach where you can just spend the evening, like have a few drinks with the sunset and enjoy an amazing meal with your loved ones. And also, like we did an episode on the top pools in India. The Ravis had featured on that too because the infinity pool over there is one
It's
of
stunning.
like is stunning. One of the beaches you like maybe missed out could like is
Oh,
Bekala
there are so
Beach,
many more.
right?
There are so
Because
many
yeah,
more beaches, Neil. Yes, to the north of Kerala, you will see Bekal, and in fact, it's where you'll find some really nice luxury hotels. So you have the Lalit there, you have the Taj there. One of the really nice beaches to go. So Bekal is quite popular. Then you have Varkala.
oh
Varkala beach is
yes,
also beautiful and very calm, and to just chill out. I think it's a great place. And then you have Marari. So Marari is kind of just becoming famous, the Marari beach, and very close to Alleppey. So like I mentioned, you keep combining different things so you can have the backwaters and the beach. I think that would be a wonderful holiday to do Alleppey and Marari together. It would be just so stunning, right? To have the best of both. Yeah, so there are
exactly.
so many beaches
Yeah.
in Kerala, but I think these five, six that we mentioned are probably the most popular. And in fact, you mentioned adventure activities, so Kovalam also has a lot of surfing that you can do.
Yeah,
Um,
many surf schools have
yeah,
opened up there,
yeah,
and we mentioned it in the last episode also.
that's
There's a
right.
surf school, a come like you can do surf school during the day and have like an Ayurveda or wellness retreat by the evening and night. So there are many things that are there. But now that we are talking about places that you can stay at, let's come to the last reason on our list why you should
Mm.
visit Kerala. And I'm not saying that it is the last reason, like entirely, that this is
True.
you should visit Kerala. There are 1,000 reasons why you should visit Kerala. But let's move on to like the different types of accommodation that you get when you visit Kerala. And I think the best starting point, Sunila, here would be to talk about something that we keep seeing all the time on the backwaters, and that is the house.
Yes, Neil, we did mention about it. It is the Ketuvelam. Ketuvelam is also called as the houseboats, and these were traditional boats. They've been converted into hotels now, so you can go in and stay there. There are, some 2, 3 bedrooms. So it depends on what you take in and what you want, but you have a living room, you have bedrooms, and some of them even have like a lookout terrace. So there is a bamboo staircase that does take you up, and you can go out there, and really it's an unbelievable and unforgettable holiday to be on the houseboat. So at least for one night, I think we should definitely speak of taking this. In fact, see, it's a really good option either for if you're going on a honeymoon as well, because then you can take in a smaller houseboat and just have it private for you. Or if you're a bigger family, with 3 bedrooms, each one gets their own little privacy for the night, but you're enjoying the beauty of Kerala together. So I think that's stunning. And like I mentioned, I just couldn't control myself some time back. But the best part is how you can stay on it. You see local life. You actually, it's like like a visual of the real local life that happens in Kerala. You meet different people who are coming to sell certain things. So they come in and sell you seafood. They come in and sell you vegetables, and then you buy them fresh. You have the chef cook it for you, so it's great. And in certain safe areas, you can even stop and go swimming in the backwaters. So I think
That's
it's
that's
really
awesome.
a
So from the
beautiful
backwaters,
place.
let's go to the like something higher up, right? Let's go to the tree
Hmm.
houses. And
Yes,
you have, I think the famous one is Vaithiri, right?
that's
Vaithiri
correct.
is something that people really like it because they give you the option of staying in a tree house. And you are put in a small, it's not a small basket, but a big basket, which acts as an elevator that takes you up to the tree house, and you can actually live in this wooden tree house that they have made. So there are many rainforests that are there.
Mhm.
In rainforests accompanied by the hill stations that are part of this amazing thing that is Kerala. And the tree house lodging that you get at these resorts is something incredible. Sometimes you are also visited by monkeys, so they often
Hmm.
tell you that keep the windows closed, keep the balcony doors closed, because that is something that uh, you should be careful about. But living in those tree houses, and last year when I was in Kerala, I actually stayed at Wayanad Lodge, which offers like more so a modern tree house where there are all amenities and everything. But if you wanted to rough it out, there are also different options that you can do that. It's also a great destination for honeymoon couples, right, Sunila? Because there are so many romantic beachside resorts that you would have. And like you mentioned, there's just so much more. In terms of accommodation, does anything else come to mind?
Neil, there is just so much when it comes to a romantic holiday, because one, you can live like Tarzan and Jane on top of a tree house. You can be by the beach. We just spoke of the beaches, so there are some really beautiful beachside, resorts out here. You can also choose to have a pool villa. So there are a lot of pool villas in Kerala as well, and a lot by the backwaters. So it's just amazing. In fact, Kumarakam Lake Resort has some rooms where your room connects to the pool, so you don't even have to step out of your room to go and enjoy the meandering pool. Or you can have a room where you have your own little private pool to enjoy a holiday. So I think there are just so many options out here. Along with that, I was actually quite surprised. And the first time, I think maybe it feels a bit strange, but then you really get used to the idea and you start loving it. And you see this in a lot of resorts in Kerala all around, and that is a open to sky bathroom. So there is no there is
I
nothing.
quite agree that the first few times it is quite strange, and
You
like you
feel
don't
like,
know.
is it really safe to have a shower here? Is someone watching? Because there's nothing, there's no ceiling, there are no walls, there's just a shower, and there's nature, and maybe the birds and you. And so the first few times you really hesitate, you're quick to take a shower, but then you get used to the idea that, really enjoy nature from the time your day starts. So it's quite interesting, and I think there are really a lot of options in Kerala, from pool villas, like we mentioned, private houseboats, private tree houses, so all of that. And along with that, you can also choose to kind of go in for some treatments. So not necessarily romantic, but it's nice for a honeymoon too, because you're just so tired after the wedding, you want to relax and you want to experience some beautiful wellness resorts are in Kerala. We did the last episode on wellness too. But Ayurveda, I mean, Kerala is the home to Ayurveda. So every resort will offer Ayurveda, but there are some that are specially for treatments as well. And you can check in there for 3 days, 7 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is, and just have a nice relaxed and come back completely rejuvenated. So
Awesome.
that's something you can do
I
as
think
well.
we plan to keep this episode 25 minutes, but we've clearly exceeded 35 to 40 minutes
Wow.
on the episode. But there's so much information that we've exchanged, Sunita. And I think to sum it up, I would say that, there's more than 1,000 reasons that one should visit Kerala, but we think that it's the backwaters that you keep seeing in the photographs. It is the great hill stations along with the tea plantations. There are so many adventure activities that are there. The food that you so beautifully described and the wildlife that is there.
Mhm.
And finally comes the the super long coastline. And to top it all, there's culture, there's art, and there is a lot of history in this state. So I think, according to us, these are the top things that one should visit Kerala for. Any closing points you would like to add, Sujata?
No, I think I need to order some food now, because I've been speaking so much about the Kerala food, and with Vishu just going by, and speaking of Onam and speaking of the meals. In fact, there are a lot of these caterers on Instagram that are giving delicious homemade meals. So I for sure am going to order something from Kerala today. Uh, but I think, Neil, what we can say is that whichever way you want to do Kerala, I mean, it may be a family holiday, it may be a romantic holiday, it may be the first trip, it may be the fifth trip. There's always something to do out here, and it's such a beautiful land that I'm not surprised that people keep coming back there again and again, or once they come in, they don't want to go back, because I think it's the people in Kerala who are so friendly and so warm, and they make you feel so welcome that you really want to go back there. Let's hope we can get back there soon.
Awesome. Uh, Speaking of food, have a Malabar paratha on my
Mm,
behalf
I will.
also. But I would just like to say that thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. It was lovely coming back with another episode. We hope all of you are safe and sound with your loved ones at home. Take care of yourself, stay safe, and we will see you next week with another exciting episode. Until then, take care and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.